Hello and welcome to another live. I have something exciting for you today. A lot of times we will prepare and plan for the logistical things and forget that there is another component to making a move abroad. And if we miss doing those, we can have an awful time of it abroad. And so today I'm going to share with you 3 pitfalls that you want to avoid when you make your move abroad. All right. So we are live now, and I want to welcome everybody who is joining live. If you are, please type in where you are joining from. Okay. And I'm going to introduce myself and I'm going to jump right into the topic. I am Patricia Brooks, and I moved to the south of France 6 years ago. And I help single women who are dying to make a move to France or any other European country do it. But they have been thinking about it and planning and wanting to do this thing, but feel stuck to make it happen. Fear, indecision, self-doubt, overwhelm, whatever that is, has them stuck and they haven't been able to make the move on their own. So I help them to move through those mental barriers and build confidence and create a feeling of empowerment so that they can actually take steps, actionable steps to make their move abroad. And so that's who I am. That's what I do. And today I'm going to share with you why, even if you've got your logistics right and you've got your money right, that if you don't have your mindset right, that you can not have a good time of it living abroad. And I'm going to give you the 3 pitfalls and what you can do to avoid them. All right. So the first one is to focus. The first pitfall is if you focus so much on the logistics of figuring out where to live and getting the work that you love to do or creating that business, all of those things that are so very important to making a move abroad happen, but then you neglect thinking about the mental side of it, what it is that you want to have be experience or do in your new country, you can find yourself floundering and not living the kind of life you want. So for me, to give you an example of what I mean by that, is when I moved, I was so ready to move. I'd done everything. I was a project manager, so I'd taken care of all the logistical stuff. So that went really smoothly. But when I arrived, I was on cloud 9 for 3 weeks, and that was great. But after that 3rd week, I hadn't planned for what I wanted my life to look and feel like in that moment. And so I was there and I had so much time on my hands because I wasn't working. And I found myself questioning my decision. I felt really had some self-doubt of whether or not I'd made a good decision, because here I was alone in a country that I didn't know anybody, and I was living off of savings, and I felt really bad. It didn't feel good. And I had these thoughts come to me on and off for the first several months, and it could have resulted in my returning to the United States. But fortunately, I had some tools in my toolbox that helped me move through it. But to avoid this, to avoid getting there and saying, okay, I'm here, now what? Or, oh crap, what have I done? You can recognize, number one, you can recognize that this can happen, right? You can have wanted to do this all your life. And finally, when you get it, you're like, oh yeah, this is different from what I expected. So recognizing that this thing actually happens, this sort of thing happens, and that if it happens to you, that it's a normal thing. But the second thing that I would say is, I know that the move abroad and the planning and all the logistics is a really big piece, and it takes a lot of your time when you're making that move or you're planning that move, but also have a plan or a part of your plan focused on what it is you want to do when you get there, especially if you're retired or you're on a sabbatical or you're not working in a structured environment. Because what not having your plan or a project to get you started can cause this floundering and this feeling of, oh, this is uncomfortable. This is not what I expected, and it doesn't feel good. Maybe this wasn't the right thing. You don't want to have those thoughts when you're in that place that you've been dreaming about, and then all of a sudden you've got this feeling that something isn't right. So that's the second thing you can do. First, be aware that this is a thing that happens. You get abroad and you kind of feel like, oh, was this the right thing? But the second is to have a plan or a project to tackle right away so that you don't flounder, so that you have something to occupy your time. So that's pitfall number one. Pitfall number two happens actually before you make the move abroad. And that is that you're planning and researching and, dotting your I's and crossing your T's, and you're doing all this work, and maybe you've done it for 2 years or 3 years. And the time just never comes that you actually do the next step that will get you to your new country. And that happens because there's fear, there's indecision, there is overwhelm. There is a lot at play when you plan to pick up your life and move to another country. And so it's normal to have these feelings of fear or self-doubt crop up for you. But if you allow that before you move, if you allow that to stop you from actually taking the next step that is going to move you to your new country, then you're going to be stuck living in a place that no longer suits you. You don't feel good living in, where you feel constricted or concerned that this is not where I want to be. And I want to start my new life in a new country where I know that I feel lighter and happier and freer to be me when I'm there. But if you don't work through and get the help you need to work through the fear and the self-doubt, then you will remain stuck, have regrets, and your mental wellness, your mental well-being will suffer. And that's not where you want to be. So that's the pitfall number two, is to do the planning, do the research, get really close, but never really doing the thing or the things that get you on that plane to your new country. And so the tip I have for you for that one is to get help, right? Working through fear and self-doubt and overwhelm on your own is a losing proposition. You can't see the blind spots. You can't see the things that you're telling yourself that you need to readjust. And until you have somebody from the outside who is trying to help you do that, you're going to struggle with that. And so get the help you need to move through fear, self-doubt, overwhelm, and to help you create that project for when you land, so that pitfall number one isn't something you ever have to experience. All right. So that's 1 and 2. Hopefully this is resonating with you. If you are joining live, let me know if you have any questions, if this makes sense, if you need clarification on anything, I will be happy to answer. All right. So, pitfall number 3, and this has to do with how different living in a foreign country is, right? The way things are run are different. The way things, and you're not going to know that. And a lot of times you're going to be entering into a situation with how you did it in your old country, and it's different. And you're going to feel stupid. You're going to feel embarrassed. And you might find yourself questioning whether or not this was the right move. But more than that, you might be telling yourself, I'm so stupid, or why did I do that? I'm so embarrassed. And those feelings of shame or just not being good enough can crop up for you when you're in this place that you've been wanting to live for a long time, and it doesn't feel good. An example of this for me was my first couple of weeks. I went to a grocery store. The first time I went to this new grocery store, I picked up some fruits and some vegetables, and I had some other things too. And I got to the checkout counter and I put all my stuff on the counter. And I got up there, and when the checker got to my fruits and vegetables, she looked at the bag to see if there was a label that she could scan. And there was no label because I hadn't put one on there. In this grocery store, in this particular grocery store, you had to in the produce section, weigh and label your own items. So when you get to the checkout, they just scan it. So here I am with all my stuff on the conveyor belt, 2 or 3 people lined up behind me, and I have to go back to the produce section and do this thing while everybody waits for me. Embarrassing, right? And so I remember walking home from the grocery store thinking, oh, Patricia, you idiot, how could you do that? And really having those thoughts go around and around in my mind over and over again. And later that night, that incident cropped up again. And I was not treating myself with kindness. I was raking myself over the coals, didn't feel good. Now, that's just one incident and one thing that I experienced when I first got to France that caused me to feel not so smart or stupid or embarrassed. And if I continue down that path, that would degrade my sense of self-esteem and self-worth. And I'd be living where I wanted to live, but not experiencing it the way that I wanted to because I was, you know, beating myself up. And so for this particular pitfall, the thing you can do, and you can start doing this now where you are now, and that is to start to treat yourself with loving kindness. Give yourself grace. You know, you're human. You may do things that you wish you hadn't, but to beat yourself up over the things that have happened aren't going to help you. So the thing that you can do where you are now is to start to treat yourself with loving kindness, to tell yourself, oh, that's okay that I did that thing. And over time, you're going to start to build up this muscle where you are treating yourself with loving kindness, where you're giving yourself grace. And then when you're abroad and you're in many situations where you have the opportunity to make yourself look foolish, you can actually just kind of brush it off, keep on going, maybe even laugh at yourself. And in that way, that will allow you to live the kind of life you want to live and have the kind of feelings you want to have in your new country more easily. So that is something that you can start right now, today, where you are. Okay. So that is a pitfall number 3. And I do have a bonus pitfall for you. And this one, I learned, it came to me later during my life here in France. It was probably 2.5 or 3 years in. And that's when I realized, oh, the things that irritate me about French life will not go away if I don't address them or if I don't make peace with them. So, for example, my apartment doesn't have screens on the windows. My apartment doesn't have central heating and air. And so I have a hard time regulating my environment inside. And it was something that was a novelty in the beginning. But, you know, after 2 years of that, it started to feel hard to me. And there was this low level feeling of, why isn't it like it is back in the United States? And so this pitfall kind of goes to the point that if you've got a pet peeve in the beginning, that pet peeve is not going to go away or get better over time without taking care of it. And so how can you do that? How can you make peace with the things that aggravate you, irritate you, create a tension that you don't really want to have in your life when you're living abroad? Well, that's the first thing. Again, I always talk about awareness. The first thing is to be aware of the things that are irritating you, you know, that are making you think, oh, why isn't it like it is back at home or back at where I came from? And then early on, and then decide, you know, is this something that I'm going to be able to tolerate long term if I can't find a solution for? And if it's something that is just something that you don't think you'll be able to manage long term, recognize that and say that maybe this country is not for me, and maybe you choose to go back to where you came from, or you choose to move to another country. So that's option number 1. Option number 2 is to say, okay, this is something that I'm going to have to get used to. I recognize this is the way things are done here. And is there a solution that I can have on my own that makes this easier for me? So here, most people don't have screens on the windows, as I said, but some people do. And so there must be a company that sells them. So that could be an option for me in the long term, that could help me to feel better about the bugs in my house and not having them in my house, not having the flies or the lizards come in through open windows. The other thing is, with the heating, if it doesn't feel like it's heating, get a space heater potentially. But think of solutions that could make your pet peeves less, reduce the resistance that you feel around them, right? Because that will go a long way to saying, I'm in this place I love. And well, yeah, these certain things over here aren't like they were back at home, but I've made them better for me so that it's not a constant source of irritation for me. All right. So those are the 3 pitfalls plus a bonus, and I'm going to recap them for people who are just joining. The first one is that you have spent so much time planning and doing the logistics that you haven't really created a plan for what you're going to do when you're living abroad. What is your next project? Because moving abroad is a project. You spend a lot of time right before you make the move doing this thing. And then all of a sudden you don't have that thing to do. You're in a new place and you're floundering and feeling a little lost, having too much time to think, oh, now what? What have I done? Right. So that was the pitfall there. The second pitfall was to focus so much on research before you make your move and doing some logistical stuff, but not doing the things like applying for a visa that are going to get you to move to your country. And so you kind of stay stuck in a loop where you're planning and preparing, researching, but you're never really activating and getting to that country. And that is a horrible place to be if you have been dying to get to this new country so you can feel free to be you and more authentic, right? The third one was to give yourself grace. You're going to be embarrassed. You're going to do things that may look stupid to some people, but you don't have to beat yourself up over that. And you can learn to give yourself grace and treat yourself with loving kindness where you are today, so that once you get to your foreign country and you are surrounded by things that are unfamiliar and ways of doing things that are different, that, okay, so I did this the incorrect way, but it's no big deal because, I'm good. I can give myself that grace. All right. And then the bonus was, over time, your pet peeves don't get easier. And so if you've got something that you feel resistance against about a cultural difference here, decide whether or not it's something you could live with long term. Look for solutions that can make it easier for you and then implement those. So how was this? I hope this was informative. Any questions out there? I see quite a few of you have joined live. What questions do you have for me about pitfalls of moving abroad? All right. As I wait for the questions to come in, I do want to share with you another thing that you can do that can help you to make sure that you are preparing for your move abroad and your mindset for move abroad. I offer a program. It's a group coaching and mentoring program that has a couple of components. The first one is that there is an online curriculum that takes you through the designing your why, understanding the purpose of your move abroad, and helping you to create a project for when you land. That second piece is that building your self-esteem up, building your the behaviors and characteristics that help you to be more resilient, like giving yourself grace, like giving yourself loving kindness, and create that plan to do that. And then that third piece is, well, it's logistics. It's creating a plan and moving through that plan and being held accountable to that plan. So that is the online curriculum. But there is another component to the program, and that is the live weekly group coaching and mentoring calls, where I am there to help facilitate you through your questions, your concerns, and really get you to that place where you are so confident, so empowered, so ready to get on that plane and start living the next chapter of your life in your dream country. All right. So there's also a Facebook group community where you can interact and engage with other like-minded women who are making this move abroad. So just because you are making a move abroad alone doesn't mean that you have to feel that way. All right. And if that sounds like something that could help you over the hurdle and get you to your dream country so that you can start feeling that freedom, that flexibility, that lightness of being, and start to feel like your mental health and your mental well-being are improving or being enhanced because of the surroundings that you're in, then be sure to go to thecouragecatalyst.com/future expat. And I will share that with you so you can book a call with me, learn more about the program. I can learn more about your plans to move abroad, where you are, where you may be stuck, what it is you want to experience. And then I can share with you how you can get started in the program today. All right. So go to thecouragecatalyst.com/future expat, book a call with me, and we'll go over all of that. Okay, so that is all I have today. I don't see any comments in the chat. Hopefully, as I said, you found this insightful, informative. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Share it with your friends. Be sure to subscribe to my channel. And I will see you again next time. Take care and bye for now.